tell us who you're dating, and you offer, in other words, to prospective clients, maybe you should know who you're dating and who this person is.
Yeah, we
didn't get any takers.
Yeah, we spent a fortune advertising on certain dating websites. Some of the dating websites wouldn't take our ad, but some would. And these dating websites all have, in the little disclaimer, you have to click around and find it, it says, we've done no background checking on any of these people. You should do your own background checking, because we can't warrant that this person's not an axe murderer. We don't know who this is, so be careful. So they allowed us to go on and say, do you know who this is? And we were able to do it so that we wanted only people who were fairly wealthy, in urban areas, maybe more suspicious, and we got almost no takers. People didn't want to think that this person that they've been dating and now they're about to go away to Bermuda for the weekend with, and they really don't know who this is.
Could be a gold digger. Could be, as you say, a violent person, a bigamist.
Yep.
And they don't want to know.
They don't, apparently not. I mean, maybe they called our competitors. I don't think so. I think people, if they're on these dating sites, they want it to work. And for the same reason that rich people don't want to think that the Madoff guy that they found who said, I'm so special, I'll let you into my fund because you're special. That's a great psychology. And at the same time, on the dating sites, they think, I finally found this person, and we've gone through enough dates, I'm going to Bermuda with them on the weekend. I don't want to know the bad news.
But business people, of course, sometimes don't think like that. I mean, some active business people, for instance, you have tracked down organized crime connections. Some people have come to you saying, is my partner in the mob? I have a feeling. Right. Well, how do you do that?
Well, I've had two cases like that. One was, I had a client who said, we've got these Russian fellows in Florida, and they wrote a very bad contract with us, and now we're saying goodbye to them, and they've put in all the money and they get nothing, and that's how it is under the contract. And all of a sudden they arrived at our office with a big beefy guy in glasses. They put their big beefy arms on the desk and they said, we would be very disappointed if you stopped this business arrangement. And they said, well, all of a sudden we don't know who they are. Well, it turned out one of them had a violent record and had been in jail on a weapons charge for 2 years. And I ended up interviewing the retired district attorney who put him away, the policeman who he was arrested on a highway with guns and tear gas and handcuffs in his car.
Nice guy.
Fairly scary. We interviewed everyone we could find who'd ever sued them in the Russian community in Florida, and a lot of people had. And we finally discovered one person who would have had reason to know if they were a mob. And she said, I think I'm going to sue them. I dropped my case because my daughter got sick, but they owe me money. I'm going after them. And we thought, probably they're not. We don't think.
Yeah, in other words, they're shady, but they're not mob.
They wanted to trade on the idea that probably they're mob because it suited them. They never actually said they were mob. They just became beefy and ominous.
And it worked.
Well, it worked for us. We got hired.
But it worked also for people who were intimidated.
The people were intimidated, although they decided, I think, not to give in to them. But we had to call up everyone who'd ever sued them. And it turned out that our client, if he had just done a little work on the internet, would have seen they'd run a succession of boiler room scams over the years. They'd gone into nonviolent crime, but they were still criminals.
And when you interview, as you say, I guess you assume it'll get back to these people. In other words, there's the kind of research you can do through records, garbage, like they show in one of the ads, somebody going into garbage. I guess you do that too?
Only if it's expensive to do that, and it's only permissible in some states if the garbage in the U.S. is abandoned on public property. So if it's in the backyard, you can't get it.
Okay.
If it's abandoned on the sidewalk, usually you can.
Okay.
It's expensive to do it.
Yeah, garbology, I think they used to call it.
Yeah.
The guy did it to Bob Dylan. He didn't call himself a garbologist. But anyway, those things don't get back to the subject. But if you interview, which can be very useful, do you assume they're gonna yak and you can't assume, you can't tell people, please don't tell him we're interviewing you.
You must assume it will get back to them. And oftentimes you'll say to the client, well, here's a list of 15 people we could interview in the order of less to most likely that it will get back to them. So we'll start with these 3 or 4 people who hate the guy's guts and probably won't call him up because they hate each other and they haven't spoken in 20 years. And we'll go all the way down the list, and at the end we could call his current business partner, if you like. Somebody, and you do it that way. But you must always assume that maybe it would get back to him. So,
and you are required to identify yourself, but not your client.
I like to identify myself. I don't ever want to be accused of lying, so I will identify myself. Sometimes I'll identify the name of my firm. If I'm calling someone who might be a criminal, I will have another company set up that's really my company, and I'll say, my name is Phil, and I'm from ABC Corporation. And if they want the phone number, it has a website and it has a phone number, which is a cell phone.
But it's a dummy company.
It's not. It's a legal corporation set up in Delaware. They can't find out who owns it, so I'm not lying. But at the same time, they can't trace who I am. And if they hang up the phone because they're too suspicious to talk to someone who they don't really know, that's fine. I'd rather have that happen than tell them everything. And sometimes the client also, there can sometimes only be one client who would have hired me. So the client has to be able to say, well, I never hired that particular company.
Okay. So you do a little bit, in our business, we have, most networks will allow you to impersonate you. If you're going to a charlatan doctor to expose him with a hidden camera, they'll, if it makes sense, the policy says, okay, you can do that, pretend that you have cancer or whatever, and then he says he's going to cure it with orange peel or whatever, and you film that secretly, and you give yourself a phony name and everything else. So that's what you're doing, but you're doing it. You're taking extra precaution to make it technically legal.
Well, it's not a phony name because I don't give a different name from my real name. I don't give my complete name.
What if he says Phil who?
I would say, well, I'd just rather go by that.
Oh, okay.
Or I'll say it very quickly, and my name's common enough that he won't necessarily know. If he certainly puts it with the company that I've just set up, he probably won't associate me with. There's someone with my name who's a big film producer, so that poor guy might get a call.
Yeah.
But in any case, I never lie. I can say I don't lie. The one time that lawyers are allowed to go and lie is in intellectual property situations. The ethics, the bars have said that if you need to buy counterfeit goods, you have to impersonate a goods smuggler. You have to say, I have a business that's in public. And
so that's like us. That's like media people.
That's the one time when it seems as if most of the bar associations have said it's okay to impersonate. Otherwise, it's not okay. And it's also not okay to hire someone to do it.
You make a